ever considered what makes a high-performance engine truly hum beyond just raw power? Sometimes, the real magic happens in the unseen systems.
Yeah, absolutely.
And today, your sources led us down a surprising path, actually, straight into the heart of engine performance,
Right.
the UMA Racing crankcase breather.
It's interesting stuff. The sources for this deep dive really reveal a surprising truth.
Mm-hmm.
The true bottleneck for high-performance engines often isn't just about adding more power.
Hmm.
It's often this hidden pressure buildup down in the crankcase.
Right.
And the real insight here is how tackling that seemingly minor issue can unlock a whole cascade of benefits way beyond what you might initially expect.
Absolutely. So our mission for this deep dive is, to unpack what this specific performance part actually is, why it's pretty critical for engine health, and crucially, whether this deep dive reveals it's maybe the missing piece for your machine. So let's dig in.
Okay, so when an engine runs, especially, at high RPMs, pressure naturally builds up in the crankcase. That's the lower part of the engine where the crankshaft is spinning away.
Yeah.
And along with this pressure, you get heat and oil vapor. It's a mixture often called blow-by gases. Now, the standard crankcase breather system, it's designed precisely to vent this excess stuff.
Okay.
Without proper ventilation, the sources clearly show you're looking at, reduced engine performance and definitely lower efficiency.
And building on that, it's not just about pure power loss, is it? I mean, if all that oil mist and hot vapor can't get out properly,
Right.
the sources indicate it can actually increase blow-by contamination getting back into the engine's intake system.
Huh.
But more critically, what do the sources highlight as the most common or maybe even catastrophic real-world consequences a rider might face if the system isn't optimized? Like, beyond just finding a puddle of oil, what's the long-term hit on engine life?
Precisely. Yeah, the deep dive into the material reveals this is fundamentally about maintaining the engine's long-term internal health. Preventing a whole domino effect of issues. High crankcase pressure can definitely lead to significant power loss, sure.
Yeah.
But it can also prematurely degrade engine seals, which leads to those annoying leaks. And it can even contribute to accelerated engine wear just by contaminating the oil itself.
Right.
So this is where a performance part like the UMA Racing crankcase breather comes into play. UMA Racing, they're a pretty well-known Malaysian brand, especially in the motorcycle tuning scene.
Okay.
And they've specifically engineered their breathers for engines that are, high performance or have been heavily modified.
One detail that genuinely jumped out at me from the sources about the UMA Racing version was their choice of materials. Like, we're talking durable, heat-resistant aluminum or CNC machined construction.
Mm-hmm.
That's computer-controlled precision manufacturing, right? Ensuring a perfect fit and seal, which sounds crucial for these high-pressure systems, but it really makes you wonder, why is that specific choice so critical here, beyond just, basic durability?
Well, what the sources highlighted as truly differentiating the UMA Racing version isn't just what it's made of, but the implication of those materials. That the CNC machine aluminum isn't just durable, it's actually a very deliberate engineering choice. It's designed to handle the extreme heat and pressure you find in modified engines. It prevents the kind of degradation you might see in, lesser materials.
Makes sense.
And the integrated oil catch tank. The deep dive shows this isn't just for convenience. It's a critical design feature that drastically reduces recontamination of the intake air.
Right.
And it helps prevent that long-term engine sludge buildup, which is something often overlooked in simpler breather setups.
That's a significant design choice then, really aiming for performance. And I noticed many models also come with those transparent hoses.
Yeah.
Which seems like a surprisingly useful feature, just for easy monitoring of oil vapor levels without taking anything apart. So, okay, this improved engine breathing sounds especially beneficial for high-revving engines or ones that are already modified, but why precisely for those engines? What's the deal there?
The sources really emphasize that these types of engines, they just produce significantly more blow-by gases. It's because of the higher cylinder pressures, maybe tighter tolerances.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is the stock system pretty quickly becomes a restriction. It's literally choking off potential power and accelerating wear.
Wow. Okay.
So the UMA Racing breather basically helps these engines operate more freely, more efficiently by, alleviating that specific bottleneck. Plus, the sources point out they're generally designed for pretty easy installation. They often come with all the necessary fittings and hoses you need.
Right. So wrapping some of this up, what does all this mean for you, the rider, listening in? The benefits of installing one of these seem pretty clear, especially if you're pushing your machine hard.
Hmm.
We're talking about potentially improved engine efficiency, maybe better longevity. It actively helps prevent oil getting into the air intake,
Yeah, that's a big
which
one.
is a big win, right?
Yeah,
And it significantly reduces pressure on engine seals, hopefully preventing those costly leaks down the road.
absolutely. But one crucial takeaway from the sources, and it's important to mention this, while these benefits are significant, especially for racing or, high performance applications, it's also important to note that a UMA racing crankcase breather isn't always necessary for a completely stock motorcycle.
Right.
It's definitely a performance upgrade, not some universal must-have part for every bike out there.
That's a really crucial distinction to make. But what if, say, a rider does have a stock bike, but they're planning modifications down the line? Do the sources suggest any like preemptive benefits to installing it early? Or is it strictly a wait until you actually modify kind of upgrade? And thinking about planning, maintenance is obviously key with any performance part.
Yeah, good point. The sources tend to focus more on the immediate benefits for engines that are already modified, suggesting it's most impactful when that stock system is genuinely starting to struggle.
Gotcha.
But yes, absolutely. For any performance part like this, maintenance is non-negotiable. You'll definitely need to regularly drain that catch tank to keep it working effectively. Can't forget that.
And a very important point from the deep dive, too. Always check your local regulations.
Oh, definitely.
Some places have specific rules about venting crankcase gases, into the atmosphere versus recirculating. You really want to make sure you're compliant. So, okay, we've seen how optimizing something like crankcase ventilation, especially perhaps with a performance part like the UMA racing breather, can significantly impact engine efficiency, longevity, and, yeah, overall performance.
And if we sort of connect this to the bigger picture, it really highlights how meticulous attention, even to seemingly minor engine components, can profoundly influence a vehicle's health and capability, which, raises an important question for you listening. How do you balance that pursuit of peak performance with the practical considerations of maintenance and maybe even regulatory compliance for your specific riding goals?
Definitely something to ponder as you look under the hood or maybe the fairing of your own machine. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.